Just a quick note of congratulations before we get started. Between recording this and releasing it, our guest Johnny Berchtold and Casey Bailey got engaged. An announcement which was reposted on social media by their horror hero, Jamie Lee Curtis. So congratulations, guys, on that repost. Oh, and the engagement. Right. All right, Brian, let's start the show.
I'm Brian Foster, and this is the Grindhouse Institute. On each episode of this podcast, Jeremy Floyd and I program a triple feature movie night. Each of the movies share common themes, and we discuss them here. We're happy you could join us for today's film block that we call Horror Off the Rails. As we've previously covered on the show, sequels are a difficult art to master. Finding the balance of rehashing moments from earlier films while trying to show something completely new can become a difficult dance. Today's episode, programmed by our guest, Johnny Berchtold, focuses on 3 films that, to different degrees of success, take their respective series completely off track. Several years after defeating the evil Freddy Krueger, Nancy Thompson, now a psychiatrist, helps a group of troubled, sleep-deprived teens battle Freddy in their dreams. The kids learn to control the dream world, allowing them to transform into alter egos such as a wizard, a master of knives, and a human Kool-Aid man. Written by future Oscar nominee Frank Darabont, starring future audiobook narrator Craig Wasson, and Morpheus himself, Larry Fishburne. 1987's Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. The Lakeview High School senior class boat trip is crashed by the hulking Jason Voorhees. His motive? Not really sure. But does that really matter? Not when we get Jason climbing vertically up the side of boats, uppercutting heads clean off, and killing teens with scorching hot sauna rocks. Jason brings the party to the Big Apple in the 1989 film Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Prom night is ruined for 4 teenagers when they accidentally take a detour off the main highway and end up face to face with a real estate agent. The shocks keep on coming as we're introduced to a house full of crazed roommates consisting of a condescending conspiracy theorist, a certifiably insane tow truck driver, and a professional sadomasochist in a suit. Oh, and this fellow they call Leatherface shows up too. Oscar winners Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey star in 1995's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation. Thank you for listening to the Grindhouse Institute. Please enjoy.
Don't you worry about that old boy that drives the wrecker. He talks tough, but you just tell him how the cows eat the cabbage and you won't have any trouble.
Well, I'm happy that I'm in the October sphere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You're in the
Oktoberfest.
block.
So that's when my powers are most extreme.
Dude,
they're fully
what
realized.
are you going to do this year? There's no
just
no Halloween Horror Fest. So real quick, for Brian...
Oh, did you go all the time? I went every year.
No, hold on. It's not just once every year. Johnny, take it away.
Okay, so I'm a horror fan. We know. I consider Halloween Horror Nights to be my event.
Yes.
So Casey, my girlfriend, and I, we went 27 times last year.
What?
We try to one up ourselves every year. They do offer.
Don't you run out of days to do the one-ups?
Well, here's the thing. We kind of treat it as like we're going home. So like after work or whatever, we'll kind of just stop by Universal Studios and we'll eat and watch. We'll just sit down and watch people get scared as we eat our dinner and then leave.
Right.
We just like to be like in the fog and the moody lighting, and we'll hit a maze or two. It becomes like the actors know who we are by like the second week. And so we just like clown around with them. No, literally. They're like, oh, it's you. And then we find them on Instagram and, it's fun.
Yeah. So, to answer the original question, are you fiending? Are you over there like itching your veins?
Yeah. Oh,
and,
for sure.
Needing a fix?
For sure. I mean, normally around this time is when, actually, a month ago.
Tickets now. Yeah.
A month ago, yeah. Tickets go on sale. The rumors on the forums. We're talking about what's going to be on the lineup. And I can't do that this year. So I was actually making a joke and saying that I'm going to build a haunted house in my backyard this year. And just me, I'm just going to send my girlfriend through. And it'll be me scaring.
Yeah.
Dude, I will come if you have a haunted
Okay,
house.
good.
I will stay socially distanced. I've invited myself.
You're invited.
Yeah, we put you on the show, didn't we?
Yes, exactly.
Put me in your.
I'm building this
haunted
haunted house for you.
You are here for one reason only. I want these people to know the meaning of horror.
Freddy's home.
All right, and welcome back to the Grindhouse Institute. I'm Brian Foster. With me, as always, is Jeremy Floyd. How are you today?
Howdy. Yeah. Hanging in there. You know.
Hanging in there. That's good to know. Today, as always, a very special show where we will be looking at off-the-rails sequels, as we're calling it. We have a special guest programmer today. Jeremy, would you like to do the intro?
Yeah. So for our, horror movie blocks for the month of October, I thought what better way to get this going than bring in another fellow horror buff to you, Brian, and that's my buddy Johnny Berchtold.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
I have to apologize for what I made you watch, but also please thank me for what you had to watch because
Thank you for the punishment, sir. May
Of
I have
course.
another?
Deserved. Yes. Oh, I got a long list for you.
Today's list of three films was the 1984 Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, 1989's Jason Takes Manhattan. This is Friday the 13th 7, and
8, right?
This is 8.
Does it even matter at that point?
Yeah.
Is it 8?
Yeah. VIII, that's 8.
I don't know my Roman numerals.
Yeah.
So Jason Takes Manhattan, Friday the 13th, 8. And then we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation from 1995, starring Matthew
4?
McConaughey and Renee Zellweger.
Who the is Renee Zellweger?
Incredible.
Future Oscar
Incredible.
winners.
Yeah. What's funny is I could only find this movie
Giving their
under,
best performances ever.
I could find it under The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next
Yes.
Generation. It's got like a couple different names.
Oh, yeah. Me trying to find this movie was an experience on its own.
That's true. So I go to I go back in time and go to video stores every week. There's one in South Pasadena. There's one in Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
But South Pasadena didn't even have this one. They have all
No
the
way.
other Texas Chainsaws, and they had all of the Jasons and whatever.
You would think
But,
that this one that produced such stellar acting performances from two future Oscar winners
Yeah.
would
But
definitely
they
be
missed
on every
Texas
VHS
Chainsaw
shelf.
Massacre T and G.
No, see, it was probably their teams that tried to bury this film
Yeah.
as deep as they could.
I think that's something to definitely bring up when we talk about it. We could bring it
Sure.
up here. We can, there's got to be something out there that says, I mean, at this point, I'm sure it's a joke to them, but at one point they were like, guys, can we like bury this? Can this
Please.
not be a thing that's like released or like our first films
Oh,
or
yeah.
anything? Like, remember, I was in Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, right. But even Patricia Arquette in Nightmare 3.
But are you saying that Patricia Arquette was embarrassed with Nightmare 3?
Well, here's the thing: is whenever I watch documentaries about the making of or the whole franchise
Oh,
of
right.
Nightmare on Elm Street, she is the only one who is never in those documentaries. And Johnny Depp, of course.
But he did make it back for Freddy's Dead.
Sure,
I think that he was a good sport for doing that. But
sure.
I guess we're getting a little off the rails here on these sequels that are off the rails.
Very
Let's
good.
start with
That's on brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Chaos.
It's funny because usually we go in we go in order in terms of like when these movies were released through the years, and we are going to end on Texas Chainsaw. So
Good.
let's save the best for last on this one, guys.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of take us through what the idea was with these three films in particular, and how you landed on Nightmare 3, Jason 8,
Sure.
Texas 4?
Of course. Well, so here's the thing. So quarantine life, right? I have
Wait,
been,
what's that?
Oh yeah, this little thing that we're all experiencing. I have been abusing my Shudder subscription, and all of my subscriptions that I forgot to cancel the free trial, and now I'm just paying for them.
You are their perfect customer.
Absolutely,
They sucker you in with the free
accidental
trial. That
the accidental customer. Exactly. Yeah. So basically, I have been going on this crazy binge of 80s horror movies that I should have seen by this point, and these movies I have seen when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, these movies were my everything. but typically like the first one, the original.
Yeah.
And the following movies that happened afterwards were sort of like, okay, you see them once, you'll never forget them, but you never watch them again. And now I've had the opportunity to go back and watch them all and realize, oh my God, we should be talking about these more because these actually happened. Like these movies went through studios, like people approved this, and it was a thing that played in theaters. Yeah. And wow, I mean, truly incredible. Like what? It truly was a whole off the rails thing, but these movies in particular, I mean, you could have picked any one of the sequels for Nightmare to do. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think that's an interesting point because it's like if these were all like indie movies and
it'd be like, okay, sure,
like it's like they had 100% control themselves. Like they didn't have to go through marketing teams and they didn't have to go through this and that. Agents and managers weren't involved. It's like just like this. Oh, it's like a basement zombie movie or something. Like that's different than a situation where they have this all these layers of like protection and whatever.
Oh yeah,
to prevent movies from sliding off the rails
from doing what
supposedly
these movies
did.
Yeah.
I mean, these are franchises, right? These are like hot commodities that are constant money makers. Yeah, and I mean, and this one. Arguably a sequel to the original. I'd say a more of a Nightmare on Elm Street 2 than anything.
Agreed.
I think the fact of how many like VFX houses were on this thing, like Chris Wallace is one of those that Greg Canham, the guy that wanted, I think Canham did. Yeah, Canham was in there as well. He won the Oscar for Vice, just recently. So it's like these high-end effects artists that got through. We're gonna put a giant snake Freddy on screen, and people were like, "Sure,
and fine.
He's gonna swallow the main, the main protagonist." Okay, cool. Yeah, let's see that.
And that snake Freddy, by the way, like predates the Beetlejuice railing.
That's
true.
How crazy is that?
I definitely have a note about that here.
Yeah.
I mean,
this walked so Beetlejuice could run.
And it was the exact same year as Evil Dead 2, where like the Henrietta snakehead looked very similar.
Sounds like people are
something in the air.
They're just trading those keyframes over and over again for different
Like, hey, you got a big snakehead thing? Okay, great, cool.
Well, let's get into Nightmare. I think Nightmare 3 is arguably, and I'll admit this is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that
Really?
this one
More than the first one?
More than the first one. I think that this one
okay.
like is what we were talking about when we were talking about better sequels. It took the idea of the first one, which was somewhat of a semblance of a dream demon that Freddy became when he when he was torched. And then in this one, we're seeing that dreams are ultimately controlled by the person dreaming, and you can establish yourself as anybody you want to be in these dreams, and that kind of carried through for the rest of the series.
Exactly.
The themes that were represented here, and I thought this movie nailed them. Like the wizard, the D&D kid, the dork, and all that. Like I thought that was awesome.
Good.
And the girl that with the knives.
She's like, I could be cool. Yeah. Oh,
it's good stuff, yeah. But
incredible.
Obviously it had its '80s charm and cheese as well. On delay, wake up, on delay.
Yeah.
On delay.
That movie opens up with an Edgar Allan Poe quote that I think kind of sets it off. He's comparing sleep to little slices of death. It's pretty dark quote there. But yeah, I thought that was a good movie. I thought that was a good choice to put in there. But I do agree with you. It kind of took it, to a level that the original movie at least didn't present.
For sure. I agree with you. I love this movie. I would say on par with the original. If I had to pick a sequel that was my favorite, it's definitely this one.
Yeah.
But it has some sequences that have stuck with me forever. So this fun fact, growing up, I had this weird phobia of wrists. I don't know why. It was something that it's really weird.
Like of your wrist being harmed, or
no, just like
if you
touching
just saw someone else's wrist, you'd get freaked out, or
it would make me like grossed out. I think it was all the veins, right?
This was not the movie for you.
So it was not the movie for me. So as a kid, when I'm seeing this kid being puppeteered by the veins in his arms, oh my God, I was like, this is something I never want to experience. And then of course, as a kid, I'm like, I'm gonna experience this at some point.
So did you watch all these when you were young?
Oh yeah, of course. So this was like in the field of my mom and I would go to the video rental store and rent the entire horror section. That was like my thing.
Awesome.
And this was one of those. It was, next up in line. And and then of course I go through all the, DVD features or the commentary and all of this. And something that really stuck with me was that they were trying to push these movies out so fast that they were like writing on set, which is kind of, when you watch these movies, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But this one I love because it's a continuation sort of the first movie, and it introduces new rules, and it's just so fun and ridiculous and gross.
Yeah, it's completely, in many ways a vampire story or like a Dracula story where they find out how to kill Freddy at the time. And I don't even think they really found this out. It's just that Dr. Gordon was on the prowl at the local church to go grab some holy water and a crucifix. But I don't think they ever said, like, this'll do it. Use these tools.
He just goes to like steal or siphon off holy water.
Get some silver bullets too. That might help. And it was just like he kind of like had these archetypal things, I guess, for vampires, but they were using that. So, but burying his bones in hallowed ground and all that was definitely a new rule that again carried through later on, and they kept having to do that.
Yeah.
And I love John Saxon here making a return from part one, and it's like, bury the fucking bones. It was totally bury the fucking thing. So funny.
Bury the fucking thing.
Classic. And then of course one of my favorite scenes, Welcome to Primetime, Bitch. With, with the TV. Like
let's talk about the kills. I think that's an important thing. Let's start with the TVs.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good one.
I mean,
but how do you kill yourself like that?
Literally, yeah. Robert Englund, I heard, came up with a lot of his one-liners, and so "Welcome to Primetime, Bitch" was like the one he came up with on that, like on the day, and it's easily one of my favorite like horror movie quotes of all time.
Welcome to Primetime, bitch.
What about Bon Appetit, bitch?
Oh,
that
classic.
Was part 5 or 6?
That's part 5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Now, when did the bitch thing start? Was that in the first one?
I think
like
that's
I don't
here because I don't remember. I was going to bring that up too. I think this is when he started really laying into the girls being bitches.
Yeah.
In this one.
But didn't he also like carve it in the guy's chest or whatever? Like, come and get me, bitch.
Yeah,
exactly. Which was pretty awesome, right? Like, just seeing that.
That's what I'm saying. This movie has established a lot of like core Nightmare on Elm Street like must-haves. Yeah.
Like the must-have of you need Dick Cavett and Zsa Zsa Gabor in a dream sequence where Dick Cavett turns into that was the TV kill, right? I love the stop motion of the puppet kill. Where I know I don't want to bring up the wrists thing. I know you're sensitive and all that. But but the stop motion that they used when Freddy first came down and like his head like formed, that was really, really good. It was better than the stop motion, I'd say, than in Evil Dead 2. I would definitely argue that.
Fair.
I love the fake outs, like waking up from a dream, within a dream. I know that's kind of done all the time, but in this one, they did it like, oh, the happy ending's here. And it's like, nope, it's Freddy. We're going to fuck up Heather Langenkamp now, and she's not going to make it to the next one. I thought this was fun to revisit, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I even like, it's almost like a horror Breakfast Club a little bit. Where you have like the group of
They're
kids.
all in detention.
Yeah. They're all in detention. Yeah, and there's a psycho demon, sleep demon coming after you. But
got to take that hypnosil.
Yeah, the hypnosil. They carried that through Freddy versus Jason. Everything. Yeah.
Do you guys know like what was with the house in the beginning that she's building the model house? Like, I mean, why was she obsessed with that?
Because it was the house that was in her brain. It was like Close
right.
Encounters,
It's Close Encounters, right?
Or even like a Silent Hill kind of thing. Yeah.
She was just trying to build that house that she kept seeing.
Yeah,
right. Because she like sketched it later or something, right? Or he found a notebook or something.
So then Heather Langenkamp, she's like, that was my house on Elm Street, and like you get that moment, and she's like, you know what I'm talking about, and then the whole.
It did have quite a kind of a made-for-TV quality when Heather Langenkamp was on screen, like when she would just show up, never sleep again, and she finished the poem, and it was like, Heather's back.
She's like, hey, does anyone believe that I'm like 25 years older than you guys?
Yes. With this small streak of gray hair.
I have this streak of gray that proves that I'm older.
What are you, rogue?
Well, actually, in the first one, doesn't she, like, when she's getting the tests run by Roger Rabbit, she wakes up with a streak in her hair?
It is Roger Rabbit, isn't it? That's right.
Or the guy in Zodiac who is like, I have a basement in my house.
Yeah. They were bold with the gray streak in her hair.
Yeah.
Really bold with that one.
Very bold.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I love in the beginning where she's, I don't know, just like eating spoonfuls of instant coffee.
Yes, with the Coke. Washing it down with Coke.
And I thought, okay, because this is the opening montage, and, you know, we haven't met anybody. We don't know what's going on yet. And I thought for sure that, like, she was already going to be in this state where she's, like, trying to fight sleep or whatever, but she was just trying to stay up to meet her, like, kind of shitty mom.
She was... I mean, yeah, I guess at the time, but she was trying to stay up, right? She wasn't really trying... Yeah, she wasn't really waiting up for her shitty mom. Her mom was super shitty. That sucked.
Yeah, well, it's like even the awful dream mom, I was like, yeah, she's actually nicer in the dream.
Underlay.
You know, that's like what you know, we were talking about how sequels need to hit the similar beats to the previous film, and that's all from from the first movie. You know, the mom was kind of nonchalant about her daughter too. She didn't really give a shit that Heather
she was like
it was
pouring vodka in her coffee in the first one.
She's like
yes,
sneaking.
exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And she also had Freddy's glove, I think, in the first one, like in her closet. So she was like holding on to all the keys, you know, or at least where the hell this guy was. But then we needed to find out where, you know, Freddy was buried so we could bury his bones again in somewhere else. That's pretty much how you kill Freddy. So that's good.
So they went to the junkyard from Pulp Fiction.
Huge junkyard, by the way, because Gordon and John Saxon's character were driving for like 5 scenes in between.
The whole movie.
Like, you see them get in there, and then we're all over the place, and then they finally get there.
I mean, look, LA is a big city. You know, it's like it takes a long time to get from west side to the east side.
That's what it was, exactly. I liked how, like we were saying, each of the characters had their own like dream counterparts. But Kincaid, was he just super strong? Because he kind of like turned into the Kool-Aid Man for a second. He just kind of like busted through a wall in the red shirt, and I was like,
God, I had that note. I was like, oh, Kool-Aid Man. Okay.
Well, for this one, for Nightmare 3, I'm going to say you're welcome for this one. Because this one...
Yeah, this is a good one.
I do love. As ridiculous as it is, yeah.
It's also one of the sequels that I can watch over and over again. I haven't seen 2 in a long time, but like 4 and 5 start getting... They've got like their own movie series within the sequels, and I kind of get lost in that, similar to how Michael Myers worked out, or Halloween worked out.
We could have picked... We could have picked The Curse of Michael Myers for this.
We could have also picked 3.
Oh, sure.
On this one, like this.
Oh, right.
I was thinking that 3 would have
Season
been
of the Witch, the thing, like the Mario 2 of the Halloween series.
But might I add,
exactly.
I do love Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
On its own, it's a great movie. If they'd have just called it Season of the Witch, I think the movie would have been successful.
Agree.
But because they're like, no, this is a Halloween movie. It has to be.
It's a violent version of a Goosebumps plot.
Literally.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, haunted masks
that kill you.
Yeah. Which I also have been watching recently, the original Goosebumps series.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Oh, that's all I'll say.
So let's move on to Friday the 13th, Part 8. Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
And it's not even the last one.
So what's so funny?
Not even close. Yeah.
I never really got into the Friday the 13th movies. The first and second one I really enjoy.
Let's just say it's a good thing you're not in the same room with Johnny, because there might be this might come to blows.
Oh, really? Big Friday the 13th fan.
I mean, of course, he's been there for me, Jason Voorhees, and his mom, Pamela.
Yes, I was going to
have
say.
been there for me for a long time, ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Jason raised me.
Yeah.
I had never seen this. All I've heard is some people that have said that it's a stupid sequel, that it's one of the ridiculous ones, and in many ways, like, it's super campy, but in many ways it knows it's campy, and it's ready to show that off. I actually had a really good time with this movie. This is the first time I saw it. I thought it was really fun. Yeah,
I think with all of the movies we're talking about, I mean, the original always it takes itself seriously. Friday the 13th was like, a cut and dry slasher movie. Sure, it's campy, but, it was a horror movie. And what all of these franchises kind of did was just, okay, how can we do more with it? Turn it into something else? And I think this movie is a great example of that. Just the phrase "Jason Takes Manhattan"
Yeah.
alone is
I mean,
kind of-
someone was like, we need to make a movie. We need to hold on to the rights or whatever
Yeah.
that ends up being in the system. And they're like, well, what's it going to be? Let's bring him to New York.
Where else do you
How
go?
the hell are we going to bring him to New York? But via boat, obviously,
Yeah.
from Camp Crystal Lake. A
Yes.
direct route, apparently, through the... Does that go right into the New
It's-
York Harbor? Camp
Absolutely,
Crystal
it's a
Lake?
thing.
Yeah, so the movie starts off in what, Alaska or something? They when the boat takes off, there are all those like the Rocky Mountains back there.
Yeah,
That like the range that kind of goes up
There's no
to
sense
the
of
Yukon or whatever. and,
location
like,
here.
Beautiful backdrop, though.
they go like around the horn because the boat is Panamanian. So were they supposed to go through Panama up back into New York?
See, I think you're not supposed to be asking these questions.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
you got way
Right.
too detailed in it.
I'll see
I don't even
myself
think
out.
they
Yeah.
do.
Who chartered this vessel?
Yeah, really.
Also, I love how we were talking about the Breakfast Club, and this movie is the Breakfast Club on a boat. It's
Yeah.
like they have
Yep.
a principal on the boat who's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, where's your biology test?" Like, wait a minute, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
here? Isn't this like the graduation hangout? And like, what do you mean test? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There were some weird questions being asked on from that teacher because I didn't get that they still had assignments that were due, and that part like almost made it more scary than Jason. Like, wait, am I gonna get a 0 on this, or is Jason gonna rip my face off?
I'll be coming around to your stateroom in exactly 15 minutes, Miss Mason, so you better have your biology project ready.
But what an interesting movie. They show New York, Manhattan specifically, as a really open, nice, opening, welcome place to do heroin, especially like right in the middle of a street with a big old shining light down on you. And that one scene of them, which obviously comes back later on.
All we
which
needed
is
was
smart.
Freddie with his heroin fingers. He's like, "Come on,
Yeah.
bitch."
Yes.
I thought that
heroin,
that's why these
bitch.
two movies kind of went together pretty well. Like we
Yeah.
saw a lot of those similar moments.
You know what I noticed too? A lot of these around this time, there was a lot of like urban horror. So like all of the horror movies kind of went to the city, which is a weird kind of thing. I don't know if that was like a trend back then. Was that like, let's take it out of the suburbs and move it into like more, which I think is cool. I mean,
Like Predator
Well,
2.
it's also kind of like the it's also that the scariest thing in America at the time was the inner city and like the gang
Right.
problems and all of like everything about the city is terrifying. This is all that like late 80s, early 90s where that is the scariest site in America. So like it's like nothing's gonna be scary in the suburbs. We
Yeah.
got to relocate this whole venture into the city where it belongs.
And I guess the only thing scarier than the ne'er-do-wells that are in New York is Jason's face, as he completely settles an entire dispute just by taking his mask off and showing it to a crew of people.
Love
that was
that.
pretty funny.
So
and then I
good.
think he goes maskless for the rest of the film, which is kind of an
No, he
a
puts it
depart-
back on.
Oh, does he?
The only time he
He-
takes it off is at the very, very end after he gets like whatever acid thrown in his face, and
He looks really messed
he turns
up.
into the sort of RoboCop, gloopy guy at the
Or
end of
the brain-
RoboCop.
my
The
favorite,
brain gremlin.
my favorite like thing about about the franchise is that he Jason died as a young boy, right?
Yeah.
And he comes back as this like shredded, like massive beast, like this like monster
it's
of a.
like 8 feet tall.
But he still has the cleft lip.
So then that's still him.
The
Okay.
hair lip. He still has that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
So I mean, it's got to be him. It's the same dude.
Sure. Right.
So when the sort of main character, I don't even remember her name. I don't remember any of the characters' names in this.
Oh,
Are there any characters?
They were forgetful. They
Okay.
were in there, but they
But
were
the-
definitely numbers.
The woman who's I don't know what her teacher or stepdad was the principal, and she kept seeing visions of this little kid, and the little kid was the Toxic Avenger. But was that supposed to be Jason?
That's Jason, and he kept getting
Yeah.
worse as the movie went along. Every vision that she saw him, he was
Uh-huh.
more of a Toxic Avenger.
Right.
Probably shouldn't say that. That's probably a little insensitive. I'm sure there's something that was actually wrong with the kid. Or
No,
at
but
least-
I mean, I'm talking about like his eyes. Like that was obviously
that was-
makeup, but
that was him. That was him. Like
that was Jason.
they were
Yeah.
starting to see him more as how Jason looks now. I think that's what I got out of it, at least.
Sure.
But
yeah.
in the sort of original movies, like that's what little boy Jason who drowns in the lake is supposed to look like?
You only see him for that brief moment, like in a flashback when the waves and splashing.
Yeah.
And then you see him at the very end when he pulls Annie or whatever her name is down into the water.
Yeah.
But you never really see him. And he doesn't pop up until part 2. That's when Jason actually makes his first. And he has a bag over his head, not even like a...
This whole franchise was just trying to figure out what it was for the longest time.
And it went on forever. Like you were talking, we had Jason X, is one of these, Freddy versus Jason is another one. There's so many entries. The remake of Friday the 13th, they're trying to get another one going now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like the thing that won't die, like Jason. But Jason is full on electro Frankenstein zombie in this. I mean, like they were like, how the hell are we going to wake him up? Oh, clearly he's going to be electrocuted. And from the boat named the Lazarus, of course. Like everything was like very on the nose. This is exactly what we were talking about here.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was okay. It was okay.
I love how in the very beginning, when we're on the is it the Lazarus? No, the Lazarus is the boat for most of the movie.
First boat, yeah.
But the very first boat is just two people hanging out.
Yeah.
And the horny kids are like, oh, let me tell you a story real quick, and ruin the mood. And then they start to get into this like Scream, like meta narrative. It's like a postmodern thing where it's like, oh yeah, and then here are the rules, and like the mother comes out, and then it was this, and then the kid was there, and they get drowned. Yeah, whatever. And it's like, but I was like, oh man, this movie is kind of like definitely right up in Johnny's wheelhouse here, because this is like
absolutely
Scream, postmodernism plus his best friend Jason.
It should be everything that I love. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is in a way. That's the other thing. I've been playing the Friday the 13th video game, if you didn't know that exists. And they have this version too of Jason that you can play as with his
nice.
His spear.
That game really took off. I didn't think it was going to do well, but it's really good, and it's got that Dead by Daylight vibe to it. The 4v1 play, that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Is this a recent thing?
Couple years
ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's like one person plays as Jason, and everyone else is a camp counselor trying to get away from him.
Yeah.
And he just you can kill in some pretty brutal ways too, I think, right?
My dream scenario, running around Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like that game came from your brain.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say one interesting thing about this movie. I forget where I read it or watched it. It was in my deep dive into BTS. But when they were writing this movie, the original script featured almost no boat, and it was Jason Takes Manhattan. So he went to all the iconic Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, and they obviously had to slash that, no pun intended, but they had to slash that for budget reasons, and also probably because they were like, what are you trying to do with this movie?
So, I mean, they were clearly really, going into Jason at this point in the series. Like every sequel was Jason this, Jason that.
He became almost the hero. Like he was.
Absolutely was.
Yeah.
And I think in this one, more than anything I've seen in any other movies, like I was rooting for him the whole time. I wanted him to obliterate that boat and obliterate that principal and all that stuff. And he does a pretty good job of it. I mean, obviously you're gonna get messed up with some acid that just pours in. The toxic waste that pours in underneath New York all the time. Isn't that how that ended work?
Uh-huh. He was like, hey, we're rounding the corner on 90 Minutes here. There's toxic sludge coming.
Bring it in.
About it. Yeah.
Bring in this toxic waste.
This is actually...
Kill Jason really quick.
This is a true story. This film was actually based on true events.
But the difference between this one and some of the previous ones is that they're,
this is a found footage movie.
Jason just walks around freely in this. And like every single scene, there's...
That's what I was going to ask was like, okay, so, clearly they had kind of, as you brought up, Johnny, like moved away from actually trying to be scary and like move away from horror and like, step firmly into the just camp and fucking around zone. Yeah. But like this one, it's like he's fully lit all the time and he's just like stomping around and like
looking through windows.
Yeah, and he's like he looks like a fool like climbing up the side of that boat and all this stuff, and he's just like it looks hilarious, but it's like you're like, is this supposed to be funny?
It's at this point everyone was already Jason Voorhees for Halloween, so it's they're not trying to hide him anymore.
And in many ways, you said it, Jeremy. You said it earlier. He's the toxic Avenger. You know, he's this anti-hero that's, you know, messed up. He's clearly a monster in many ways, but, you know, I'm rooting for him.
Well, but he's not like, you know, killing off those who, you know, put the toxins in the world or whatever, or like people who like are
people who are having sex.
He's not getting revenge for being burned alive. He's
No purpose.
Killing for no reason. And he's killing specifically the people on the boat, but for no purpose.
No.
He's a machine in these movies.
Yeah.
Like, he's just is running through people.
He doesn't kill anybody he runs into in New York. He's just chasing those like 3 people who made it.
You guys made it into Crystal Lake, so now I'm going to kill you.
Yeah,
like, that was like kind of the reason. There was really no... Yeah, and he could have killed that whole group of kids sitting there, and instead he just shows them his face. And it was like, he doesn't kill anybody. Except knocking that one guy's block. Oh no, he was part of the group as well, right? The boxer. I was like, he's not even a New York kid.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the first movie was the lesson was don't have sex, or Jason Voorhees will come and kill you. This one is
right.
Just in the previous film, you mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. In the previous ones.
Oh yeah.
It was
This one was just don't show up.
Just
don't be in the movie.
Be there. Don't.
Yeah. Just
go on a boat with Jason Voorhees.
Just don't. Okay. Don't.
And so I know that there was another entry in the series about the psychic, or there was a psychic in it. I think it was 6.
The telekinetic.
Yeah, the telekinetic. So was this kind of a continuation of that story with this? The one girl could basically, like you were saying, had visions of Jason and could see the past. And
that is a good question. I mean, these movies went full supernatural.
Yeah. Totally.
The original was not supernatural at all. And of course they were like...
I don't think the second one was either, technically.
Other than Jason Voorhees coming back to life, I guess.
Wait.
Or was he
the
alive
whole
the
premise,
whole time?
yes.
Like, are we sure?
Yeah, no one knows. Yeah.
So I think, they were like, the telekinetic thing worked for the last movie. Let's just let this girl have visions.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of helped out at the end, right?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. So this was a pretty strong entry, I thought, actually, in that whole series. And for being so late in the game as a part 8, I was like, this is actually pretty fun, not bad. And I would have loved to have seen this when it was released originally.
Oh, man.
This was a good one.
Yeah. And then where do you go next? Space. You go to space.
Yeah, exactly. But wait, no, there's one in between
one?
that, though. There's one in between
Oh,
that.
true. Goes to hell, right?
Yeah, Jason Goes to Hell, yeah, because that's 9, and then Jason Goes to Space. So Jason goes from some small camp in the middle of nowhere. I guess it's upstate New York now that we're seeing this.
Well, technically it's New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay. Yeah. And then now he takes it to the big city in Manhattan. Then he goes right to hell, and then he goes to space. I'd say Jason has like the travel bug, if anything.
So those mountains are in New Jersey? I guess I've only seen the little bits of New Jersey, but I haven't seen the mountain ranges.
The mountains of New Jersey.
Yep, they're being from New Jersey. I gotta tell you, I spent my days hiking in those mountains. We lived in the mountains, basically. The peak of the summit of the one.
You had to bring oxygen with you, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
it was a really tough upbringing, but it taught me a lot about nature, and it was beautiful. It was truly beautiful.
So Jason, he goes to hell and then space, and then we go directly to Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
Aww.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the kind of response we needed, guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm done with this episode. I'll see you later.
Stay right there.
Yeah.
You stay right there.
So this is starring Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger, as well as a colorful cast of characters that are just unbelievable, including the iconic Leatherface. This is a strange sequel. I'm not sure.
Well, this is like what a reboot, right? This is number 4.
Okay. This is the title, The Next Generation. This is the new kind of stepping away from the story they were building in the first few ones. But when you think about it, it is kind of almost the same premise as the first movie.
Same beat for beat, I'd say. Instead of meeting the barbecue guy at the gas station, they meet a travel agent with big boobs? Is that
extremely horny real estate agent?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a real estate agent. Sorry, yeah. She was obviously terrible, but it was odd to see such a woman that looked like her. You know, she was a terrible person, but she seemed like she was like a nice person. You know, like she had a good heart, and she didn't fit in with that group.
No,
at
which
all.
I kind of
like
liked.
really like an
the whole drive-in sequence. It was just like a. It was refreshing to see a character like her be a part of this like cannibal family legacy or whatever. It was nice. You know, she wasn't some like Southern, you know, like looks like she's going to wither away and die any second.
Because, I mean, from the get-go in the original film, you know that they're talking to some seedy individuals. You know,
you don't trust them.
No, not in the least. But this woman seemed very trustworthy.
I thought she was going to die. I thought she was going to be like first kill kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But instead, no, she's part of the part of the group.
I don't know. It's like, okay, when you get into the group, you know, you were saying that the real estate agent was different. I don't know. It's like there's the guy like, you know, misquoting shit all day long, but you didn't know that guy, like, you know, he didn't seem that bad. Actually, Mr. Chainsaw, Leatherface didn't seem that bad either. He was he was terrified all the time. He didn't cut anybody with a damn chainsaw.
He destroyed his house though. Oh my God.
Yeah, he fucked up the house. But like, what did he do anything violent to anybody? Oh, he put that person on the meat hook, right?
Yeah, that was pretty nasty. Heather, I believe her name is, got I put a star next to Heather on meat hook is the note I took.
All right,
so.
well, so
that was
there you go.
Great.
But
that was also from the first film, when it was a very
Classic.
similar shot and very similar action that happened in the first movie of somebody going on a meat. And they repeated a lot of that, but I mean, obviously they tried to push it a little bit more with Matthew Vilmer, with Vilmer's remote control leg that he had. That I'm hoping
it looked like the Bob Hoskins Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, Super Boots.
All right.
I was hoping that, you know, like even in like an old script of that movie, at least they had him like his leg ripping off with that thing. Like there should have been so much more to do with that remote and like really take him out with that thing.
When the leg was going nuts there at one point when they were playing it back and forth, I thought for sure it was gonna like bend the other way and like screw up his knee,
which would have been awesome. Yeah.
They missed an opportunity there.
I think they missed quite a few opportunities.
Or the budget. Something happened with the budget.
Oh yeah, it's a budget thing.
Yeah, I thought that was there were some cool shots though. I have to say that there was a mirror shot right at the beginning of the film. It was like an ECU of some lipstick being applied, and then that same extreme close up was used on Leatherface putting on his lipstick prior to going to dinner in his pretty lady mask. That
I agree with you. There was some really cool shots in this one.
There was some moments in this that I was like, wow, somebody like they nailed that one. Like
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too, is like the first movie, the original, is when you're watching, it's almost like you're watching something that you shouldn't be watching. Like that's the way. It was so gritty. This one was shot
movie.
like a horror movie. Like, you know, had like the cool, nice, moody lighting, and you know, everyone was in prom dresses. And it looked like a teen slasher horror movie. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it definitely, I think it was going more for that than anything.
Oh, yeah.
If you see when Renee Zellweger's getting out and jumping out of the window to escape, she does get stuck, but then there's a cut right after that she's falling out perfectly smoothly. But at one point, she kind of like takes this really nasty turn out the window.
That wasn't the editor's fault. The director made him keep that in there.
Yeah.
We need more frames on the back end of that one. I really want to see her go over the side. The prom pics that they were doing with the chainsaw, that classic sound effect of the camera going on.
Loved that.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, there were moments in here that felt like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not including Leatherface, but like just the way that it was shot and cut.
Oh,
but
the very last shot, right, where he's dancing with himself.
The dance. Exactly. But can we? I have to ask about this ending. Who the hell are the suits? And who is this guy with the Hellraiser cuts on his stomach and?
Right.
What the hell?
Yeah.
It was like Event Horizon.
The Cenobite, like piercings and stuff.
What the hell?
That was supposed to be explaining that scene where the horny real estate agent, after having
Official name
Renee Zellweger see her friend get destroyed. It's like, hey, why don't we just hang out upstairs? You look pretty, and you look like you don't seem like the rest of them. Hey, you'll get to like Matthew McConaughey. I mean, he's just stressed out from his job. And she's like, what, towing cars? She's like, no, his real job, working for the big guys upstairs who pull all the strings. It's like, who do you think killed Kennedy? Like, wait, what? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
And she's like, the government? And she's like, no. It was these guys for 1,000 years or 2,000 years. I don't remember. Something.
Because they
And it's like,
remember.
okay, so that's supposed to explain the like weird British guy with the anti-sideburns and the like, razor cuts on his chest. It's just like, all right, far fucking out, man. Far fucking out.
Anti-sideburns is awesome. That's the name of this episode.
I kind of wish they went full on, conspiracy cult. Like, it's a bigger thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, if only they committed.
Yeah. to anything?
I think the only movie that successfully did that was Cabin in the Woods, in my opinion. They
so
fully
good.
went into like there was a whole bigger thing going on with this haunted house situation.
Oh yeah.
This tried to do something like that, and I mean, it pretty much fell on its face. Literally, my question is, who the fuck are the suits? I've got that written down right here. And the second he like opened up his shirt just a little bit to see like that really bad like
really
prosthetic
bad,
job
yeah.
that he had. It's like super thick too. It looks like his stomach's like.
I was
out
like,
to
that
here.
was not underneath that shirt. Okay. Calm down.
I don't know if you noticed, because they do this a lot in those movies, is they'll make different furniture and things out of human skin, or at least make it look like human skin.
Oh,
yeah.
There was it when the dude goes to take a piss in the bathroom. There is a towel hanging on the wall
No,
that has a
yeah.
nipple on it. I thought I was gonna die. I started laughing out loud. Who else could just wipe your face with it?
And that's the home decor that I aspire to have. Is what I'm really trying to do with my place here.
Yeah.
Cover
Did you
everything.
have to get that in on your lease agreement that you have the right to put
Cover my
leather,
house in human
human
flesh.
skin? Yeah.
Yeah, nipples on everything.
Do you guys think that Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger are friends after this movie, or doing this movie after McConaughey's literally spitting in her face on her?
geez.
It was. I'll tell you, watching it now in 2020.
Oh no!
Oh, wow! Lots of licking of the face.
Just wrong, right? Just so wrong.
Well, you're talking about like COVID, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That
or
part
just in
too?
general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But are they friends after? Here's the thing. I will say the violence that happened on the film looked very painful and real.
That's what I mean.
My
I don't
God.
think anybody was really paying
No
attention to
way.
the safety.
Not at all. Not at all. And you were right, Jeremy. Matthew McConaughey really is the main villain of this movie. Like, Leatherface is almost like an afterthought.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like part of the family. And he's a lot more vocal in this one, too. He does a lot of screaming.
You sit the fuck down. Shut up.
Yeah. He does a lot of like little whimpering, like Curly from Three Stooges, like woo.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Also, the masks definitely looked like masks as opposed to human faces in this one.
For sure.
Well, especially the one you were talking about where he's putting on lipstick.
Yeah,
and
that was a mask.
He looks like what is it, like Alicia from the first Batman, where it's like, Jack, I thought you'd let me watch you transform the paintings.
You can't make an omelet without breaking a couple eggs.
Inspiration.
Boys, Alicia.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Yeah, it had that look, and I get it. Like, it makes sense to have him do that because it was in the original. He had a woman's face; it had makeup on it. Like, that's part of it.
I love the Mrs. Doubtfire one that he had. That was
Total
that was
Mrs.
fantastic.
Doubtfire.
But everybody looked like Mrs. Doubtfire. I was gonna say that. Like, the people sitting at the table, like, all look like,
Yes.
especially that old grandpa. He kind of looked.
So like, they're sitting at the table. There's like what seemed to be corpses sitting at the table too, and then the old man gets
got
up
up
and
and
walks
left.
away at one point. You're like, wait, what the fuck is happening here?
I go, where is this
Talk
guy
about
going?
fucking sliding off the rails. What is going on? Also, Matthew McConaughey, like, here's the single direction he got. Be crazy.
That's
Can you
all.
do
He's
crazy?
His eyes, I swear he is on meth that whole time. Like, yeah.
Flared nostrils
Yes.
the whole time. Those, yeah,
Dude.
That's actually, and my acting career, that's actually, I didn't go to acting school or anything like that. Like, I just watched his performance in this movie, and that's, I base every
You
single,
wouldn't need to.
when
You
I go
wouldn't
for
need to
the
after this.
teen rom-com, channel Matthew McConaughey in
Yeah.
Next Generation.
Certainly.
I can see the inspiration. Yeah.
A universal performance, I would say, and snubbed at the Oscars that year.
I'm sure that's usually what you ask when you want more further clarification on the direction you're given to. Do you mean like Matthew McConaughey from Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation? Yes, that's what we need. That's the kind of intensity we're looking for.
They're like, this is a VO audition for a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
You know, this is a commercial,
Yeah.
right?
So good.
I have to say that every one of our triple features always ends up having an odd man out, and I'm definitely gonna, Jeremy, I think you might disagree with this, but I'm gonna have to call Texas Chainsaw Massacre the odd man out in here, only because Jason Takes Manhattan and the Dream Warriors, I thought both were actual real entries into a series of sequels that fit in with it. It even included some of the stories from the first one and expanded on that. So technically those were sequels. This Texas Chainsaw Massacre was totally on its own and is definitely one of those rough drafts that was made after the fact.
How is it that the second draft is the rough draft in this case? Yeah.
But at least some of it was in focus. At least a few scenes.
Do we know what movies Renee and Matthew did right after this movie? Because
worth looking up.
Well, before this, they were both in Dazed and Confused together, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
But Matthew McConaughey became a star in like 97, and Renee Zellweger became a star in what? Jerry Maguire, what's that, 95?
So that's the same year as this.
96.
Yeah.
No, this is 94.
94?
Oh, yeah.
So it was in that year when all those amazing movies came out. Clearly it made sense for this one to be released too. At the same year as Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump.
Fits right in, you guys.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
That's the triple feature that we should have done. Is those those two movies, then this one.
The best of 94?
Yeah.
So I've got here Texas Chainsaw Massacre's 95. And in 95, Renee Zellweger had this, The Lowlife, Empire Records, all in the same year.
Oh, yeah.
And so Empire Records, I'd say, was definitely the one that kind of got her a little bit more noticed. I think that movie did a little bit better.
She was probably hoping that one came out just a little bit before.
Because I'm sure it did, because I never heard of this movie. I mean, I did at the time, but it was never like a wide release. It was never really in the movies. But, Empire Records I heard of. Jerry Maguire, obviously, was a massive film.
Yeah.
But this one I feel like this one is one of those tarnished moments on a person's career that they're just like, let's not worry about that.
It's like deleted off of the IMDb.
Right. At least
still on
Johnny Depp can be proud of Nightmare 1 or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw, the reboot, not so much.
No. I also love how they tried to recreate the very end, the iconic Leatherface, swinging his chainsaw in the sun lens, the lens flares. And they tried to do it in this one, but there was no lens flares. It was very flat. You're just spinning around.
Exactly. Yeah. It didn't have that same
Didn't
odd
hit.
movement. Yeah. It didn't hit.
It didn't hit.
Yeah.
I will say.
That's one way to put it. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I think I disagree. So in terms of the odd man out here, it's for me it's Jason 8, because Jason 8 had gone past trying to be scary and was just into being campy, whereas Nightmare 3 and Texas Chainsaw 4 were earnest attempts to be scary movies. Even though things got crazy in all three, the one that was not scary was the Jason 8, or not trying to be scary anyway. I don't, Texas Chainsaw wasn't scary really either. It was just obnoxious. But
it was trying
to be. Yeah.
Very loud.
Yeah. So that's your rationale that this wouldn't
loud.
fit in, because it was trying to be a horror movie, while the other two were trying to kind of open up to a wider range of, I don't know, types of films, right? Because more fantastical on the nightmare side. Jason was more on the supernatural side, right? So I think that was kind of your rationale there.
Well, no, I'm just saying that in Jason it wasn't trying to be scary anymore, and it was showing Jason climbing up the side of the boat or whatever, looking ridiculous. It's just supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And because in Jason there were all these shots where it's normally what you're supposed to do in a horror movie, you're supposed to follow a person getting chased, and they're like, oh no, where is he, and then he comes out of nowhere. In this one, you see him getting to the nowhere, and he looks ridiculous doing it.
Yeah, and I think
like you don't even know where his victim is, and you just watch him like marching somewhere.
It's all of the shots, of the in between.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get from here to here? That
Yeah.
was that whole movie. It's just those in between shots that are now explaining how.
Which of course like makes it not scary. I mean, there's a whole reason why you don't get to see the shape show up behind Laurie and whatever.
Exactly.
It just because it makes it scary.
Yes, I saw this one meme recently that was someone sprinting at full speed. And it was like Michael Myers every time the camera cuts away from him.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, this is my type of content. Thank you. Yeah. But it's so true.
But yeah, I guess this one too like had a little bit of the postmodern, or it was trying to continue the Texas Chainsaw series.
But from what? Like I
in the very beginning it has that title card. It's like, oh, this happens every so often, and then it. In the postmodern thing, it's like, oh, the Cenobite English guy, was wanting to like, I wanted you to experience pure terror. I mean, I'm sorry, it didn't work out, or whatever his master plan was. That was outside of actually, whatever the rituals were that were in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the previous movies. Putting that postmodern like sense of remove in the movie. And which is like, of course, like so 90s, right? Where everything had to become postmodern.
But I have to ask about that since you brought it up. It's like the last line that the Cenobite English guy says is he's talking to Renee Zellweger in the back of that limo, and he's like, "Step on it, Mr. Spottish," and then Mr. Spottish then steps on it, and then we're in a hospital. Following a hospital bed.
Yeah.
And it never reveals who's on that hospital bed.
Right.
I was like, and literally I said, who was on the hospital bed at end? What the fuck?
They were like,
those are my notes.
Just come up with a very vague scene so that way when we get to make another movie, we'll just figure that out then.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out in the sequel, kid. Yeah.
That reminds me of something.
It.
And I wanted to bring this up too. Near the end, or at the end of the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but the original Nightmare on Elm Street. There's that odd scene where the kids all get in the car. The car kind of turns into a Freddy car and drives away, and then the mother gets sucked into that
through the tiny window.
Or the window. Yeah, the tiny window. It's such a funny little effect. Yeah. But in part 3, they bring it up that Heather Langenkamp, or Nancy, she says, "My mother died in her sleep." And they never really get into any more of that, but it's like one throwaway line in part 3, and she says, "My mother," and I'm thinking that at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street, and I wanted to get your opinion, do you think that that's the mother's dream and the mother's getting killed? And like that's what we see, because it's kind of like out there, but I never had an explanation for it until seeing this.
And you're talking about the first one.
Yeah, well, what I'm talking about is in the third one, Heather Langenkamp's character says,
mentions that.
My mother died in her sleep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the end of the first one, there's this odd scene that's kind of out of nowhere, where it ends and the mother is killed in a dream, and I'm wondering if that's the mother finally getting hers.
That is a good question. I always took that line in Nightmare 3 as her like, that's just what she tells people, because how does she,
right?
How does she explain what really happened to her mom? But I do wonder if like that was her actual dream, like when she was killed in the bed or whatever, like that's what she was dreaming.
That would ultimately that one line would ultimately explain the weird ending of the first one, which I like the ending of the first one, but it's got like that Phantasm vibe where it's
for
like,
sure.
What?
Yeah.
Credits.
They needed a scary at the end somehow,
Yeah, and they did. I mean, that it worked. It's just I liked it. If that line was made for that, and I mean, I'm sure we could look it up, and it was just kind of a throwaway for me to find out, but if that line kind of solves the ending, I think that's pretty interesting.
Well, some people do have a problem with the ending of Nightmare 1, the original. Yeah. So I do. Yeah. That's a great theory. I actually love that theory. I think you just figured
this is
something
definitely
out.
going to make it into the podcast. Then let's make sure we edit this.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The good idea I had.
Yeah. You did it.
Love that.
You solved it.
Well, unless there's anything else we want to talk about these three films, I'd love to hear anything else you have. But thanks so much for bringing these to us. This was a lot of fun to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for sharing my quarantine life. with me. I will tell you, I have watched some terrible, terrible movies these days. I don't like to shit on movies.
Wait, have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation?
Oh, you mean the Return of Texas Chainsaw?
Oh, you mean the Oscar snubbed feature film?
Just Golden Globes.
Yeah, just Golden Globes.
Because I haven't seen a movie that loves women and celebrates women this much as this movie does.
Oh man,
this was
the opening scene. It's so pro-feminist.
Well, that's kind of a great segue into what I've been. So I watched Slumber Party Massacre for the first time a couple months ago. That is one of those movies that I should have watched as a kid. I'm sure I would not have been allowed to watch a movie like that as a kid, even though I did watch The Exorcist very young.
What I was going to say, like, weren't you like watching all the Jason movies?
I probably would have watched it. Yeah, I probably would have watched it.
Get your story straight, kid.
Yeah. Slumber Party Massacre 2 could have easily fit. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but could have easily fit in this triple feature here, where it just goes completely off the rails, but also kind of a little bit pro-feminist. Yeah. It's ridiculous. That one goes. The original's like a cut and dry slasher at a slumber party for a women's basketball team.
All the 80s stuff. You're going down the hole.
Yeah,
the rabbit hole.
The sequel they really go full supernatural. The killer now kills people with like a crazy electric guitar kind of thing.
I've seen that video, the box, the VHS cover art.
It's quite something. So I've been.
But was it a flying V like in Jason 8?
Is this axe awesome or what?
Good question. I needed to share some of these moments with you guys and be like, please watch
some of the guilt of
Jason Take Manhattan with me, please.
No, this was great. Like to recap, we watched Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, Jason Takes Manhattan, Friday the 13th Part 8, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Again, these were sequels that kind of went off the rails from their original stories and original films that were in the series. Again, super fun. Thanks so much for joining. And do you have anything you want to plug or anything? Or do you have a Twitter or something you want us to...
I'm vocal on Twitter sometimes. I like to post movie cliches, making fun of movies like these. At Johnny Berchtold on all socials. Go follow me there.
Fantastic. Make sure you follow... And make sure you follow the Grindhouse Institute at all your social accounts and audio and video, including YouTube. I love that we're on YouTube.
Yes.
Next week, we will be doing a show about mummies. Not daddies. Mummies.
I see what you did there.
We are going to be doing... This is something I've been very excited about, especially because, Halloween's right around the corner, and horror movies are the greatest. And so we're going to be watching... the original Karloff Mummy. We're going to be watching the original Hammer films, The Mummy. And then we're also going to be watching Don Coscarelli's Bubba Hotep, which is a really out there film. I don't think you've seen it, Jeremy, have you?
No, I've seen it, yeah.
Okay, great. So
in fact, out of those three, that's the only one I have seen. I've never even seen the original Mummy.
Same with me.
You're telling me that you're not watching Under Wraps, the amazing Disney Channel original movie? From maybe 98 or something like that. Under Wraps, best movie ever made. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just as easy to find as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
That was the second best movie ever
made.
right after
also
Under
snubbed.
Wraps.
Also snubbed.
So yeah, make sure you check us out and come back next week for some talks about mummies. Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
Oh my God, where have you been? We've been waiting. I'm excited. They look good. It's like a vest thing. I fucking hate kids.